Powered by Red Media in partnership with TSN, it is season 6 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Tim Hortons. The iconic duo just got more iconic, and we've enjoyed it to this point. You can continue to enjoy it. Get a classic donut for $1, one lootie, when you order any size, original or dark roast coffee. You can choose the apple fritter. You can go with the Boston cream, honey cruller. What about the old-fashioned plain? Chocolate dip, vanilla dip, so many choices, so many options. But it is always a classic way to enjoy your coffee. And I can see from that backdrop, Ray, for those who follow us on our YouTube channel, that you're taking a few days, couple of days, just a quick reset between Montreal and Boston. But in saying that, we'll get to the big news. Charlie McAvoy out of the Four Nations in just a moment in the Tim Hortons headlines, but it's been a fun ride to this point, and almost perfectly scripted with all the buildup and the drama and all of that Canada and the United States should face off in the championship in a rematch.
I mean, the Saturday game, from the day the tournament schedule was released, Dregs, I think we all kind of zoned in on that Saturday night, 8 p.m. at the Bell Center. And with all due respect to great venues around the league, there may be no better big game venue than the Bell Center.
Agreed.
There's just something extra there, and the tournament itself. About 10 days before, I ran into somebody from the league at a game, and they said the guys are going to play hard, aren't they? And I'm like, well, I was so surprised, but it was a concern. Like, it was, I was surprised that somebody would think that, and then I'm like, oh, got me thinking, man, I hope so. I hope it's not just a no-hitter and all that. Dregs first shift of the first game, puck gets dumped into the Swedes' end, and McKinnon runs into Victor Hedman, and I was like, yeah, that's a good thing.
Here we go.
and it was good, right? And so now, like, the Saturday game, like, I think 3 people saw that coming.
Yeah.
Both Tkachuks and JT Miller.
That
was it. Because I mean, I'm standing on the Canadian bench. They didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
And so I talked about it in the game. And so if you didn't have our feed, you wouldn't have heard, obviously. But right before puck drop, they've just finished the ole, ole, oles. The place is rocking. And, I'm looking at my monitor, making sure everything works. We're talking about the starting goalies and all that. And I hear Brady Tkachuk yelling over to Sam Bennett. And he's yelling, Benny, after this is finished, we're going. And I'm like, what's he talking about? Like, it didn't really register. And Bennett's looking at him like, what are you talking about? Right?
Yeah.
And then they go for the face-off, and I can see Matthews in Hagel's ear. And I'm like, oh. So Matthew and Hagel fight, and I say on the broadcast once they were cleaning up the gloves, I go, there's 0 chance this puck hits the ice, and 5 seconds later, Brady's not sitting with his brother. And, of course, that's what happened. And then I forget the defenseman. It might have been Faber. It might have been McAvoy. Lofts that little muffin into Binnington, and that's so they could have the third fight. And And so my opinion of that was that with all the political stuff around the anthem and the energy of the game and the night and the rivalry, the U.S. wanted to come out and punch Canada in the mouth. Yeah. And, and they did. And, I don't think I've seen Parayko fight. And I'm like, ooh, that guy
big man
knows what he's doing. Oh boy. Like, that was so. Anyway, Canada gets the first goal. Like, everything's going their way. And the Gensel goal pulls the air out. And after that, I thought the U.S. was perfect. I thought they were amazing. Like, Jacob Slavin, McAvoy, Faber, those guys were rock solid. Like,
agreed.
Noah Hannafin played as good a game as I've seen him play. And Canada got nothing. So while all the discussions, Dregs, was around the lineup and the edges of the lineup, I'm like, yeah, after McDavid's goal, McKinnon, Crosby, Point, McDavid, Marner, got nothing done. So we can talk about the edges of the roster, but Look what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Who scored?
Yeah.
If your big boys don't carry the load, you're not going to win.
Agreed. All right. Well, let's get into the news of the day as we record here Thursday morning, 10:40 Eastern right now. The Boston Bruins issued a statement on the status of Charlie McAvoy, defenseman for Team USA, at 10:30 Eastern, saying that Charlie was admitted to Massachusetts General Hospital on Monday to undergo testing related to an upper body injury sustained during the Four Nations faceoff. We believe that it's an infection off the injury. Anyway, he's still being evaluated by the Bruins physicians. He will not play. McAvoy unavailable for the championship final Thursday against Team Canada. So that's where we begin, and we'll look at some of the other potential issues for Team USA here in the Tim Hortons headlines. But that is a blow individually, of course, to Charlie McAvoy, who wants nothing more than to be able to represent his country in a championship final. So individually, a huge loss. But for Team USA, man, that's, with all due respect to Jake Sanderson, who's a terrific player for the Ottawa Senators, has been good when called on here. But how big of a blow is this for the Americans?
Well, I will equate it back to the Saturday game. So while Cale Makar was out, right, massive loss for Canada, you can point across, and the U.S. played without Quinn Hughes, right? So, you can say, okay, 50-50 here, both lose their superstar defenseman. But Canada was also without Pietrangelo and Shea Theodore. Mm-hmm. So half of their defense is out of game one, if you will, of the Saturday game. So the U.S. is going to play the final without a third of their defense. What easily could have been their top pair, McAvoy and Hughes. And so a McAvoy, remember, like, he thumped McDavid on Saturday. He played a terrific game. He would be playing at home in Boston. Like this, this is an enormous loss for the U.S. And, and what you lose in it, you lose transition game. McAvoy moves the puck up the ice. Quinn, of course, is his own transition game. But you also lose the escapability to get out of the forecheck. And so what I thought on Saturday, Canada had no chance to create offense because the U.S. forecheck was so good. The D, basically, their only play was to shoot it around the boards. So you shoot it around the boards, the U.S. D pinches down, you chip the puck out to center, and then you change. And then they shoot it back in, and the whole game gets just dragged into the mud. And that's the biggest concern I would have from the U.S. side, is that the escape of the zone and the transition game will really take a hit.
I mean, both teams have health concerns, no doubt about that, right? I mean, Cale Makar played well as he comes back into the mix. There were some other lineup tweaks. Travis Konechny came back in for Team Canada. I'm betting that Jarvis will play in the championship. They get a bit more energy, maybe a little bit more upside. Jarvis has had some rest, all of that. But let's look at some of the other American decisions. So Auston Matthews, a captain, did not play against Sweden. More or less a maintenance day. He's got something a bit sore. Upper body soreness. Let's call it that.
Let's stop him. Let's take him one at a time here, because so I thought Matthews in the first two games was fine. He hit a crossbar in the first game. I thought in the first game, the 6-1 game, I thought he was fantastic, actually. But it was fine because there was no creation of offense, really, or very little of it. And he came into the tournament with no goals in his last 6 games. He hasn't done that since 2019. And so it just seems a little off. Like not all the tumblers are clicking for him right now. And so when he didn't play in the third game, my thought was he's probably getting through and needs a couple of days off, right? So you get off Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days here. And, when you go in the final.
Yeah. Matthew Tkachuk didn't play. You again were right there between the benches. the other night when he leaned back to John Tortorella and said, I can't go. So,
Yeah.
he's got an issue. He is expected to play. Both Tkachuk's expected to play. If you want to wrap the brothers into one thought here, Brady, of course, left the game versus the Swedes. Precautionary more than anything. But
sorry, I just can't. I saw something on Twitter yesterday. Somebody had put a side by side of the Tkachuks and then side by side of Step Brothers underneath them. Oh my God!
I
just can't stop laughing every time I think of those two knuckleheads. I just laugh because they're so tight. They're so tight. There's so much similarity to the way their dad played.
Yeah.
And if you talk to them, like, they're such nice people. Like, they're such good guys. And they're a couple of knuckleheads when they get out there because it's like they look and they go, where is the biggest pot we can stir? And then they jump feet first into it. Like, they don't dip a toe in, they're going right in. And so I guess the question would be, if they're at 70 or 80 or 90%, whatever the number is, how effective is that? And I guess we'll find out Thursday. But man, those guys are clearly the energy heartbeat of their team.
Yeah. We call their antics, and I think Jeff O'Neill actually coined it, Tkachukiness.
It kind of is. Yes.
Canada has to embrace some form of Tkachukiness. And that was, of course, post game on Saturday. So, I mean, what do you draw from all of this? I mean, again, both teams they have their issues. It seems, from a health standpoint, Team USA has more than Canada does, as far as we know. And I think it was Bob McKenzie a long time ago in international play just developed this theory that it's really hard to beat a team twice in a short tournament like this. Do you subscribe to that thinking? And if so, knowing what you know now with some of the issues that Team USA is facing, in any way, does that give Team Canada the edge?
Well, it's not hard to beat a team twice if you're way better. And I think we saw on Saturday that the U.S. played, like, I thought they played almost a perfect game, and it's a coin flip. And if Canada plays almost a perfect game on Thursday, I think it'll be a coin flip. Like, I just, nobody's got any dominance in this. So if, like, the game to me is, the difficulty in winning twice is that you've got to get all those little things to work for you 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
Because that's the difference between the teams. I will say this. There is a decided advantage in goal for the U.S. I mean, Hellebuyck was he give up 2 goals in the tournament?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we've seen with Binnington in each of the games, you see that stretch of really great play, and then the time in the game when you close your eyes. And the close your eyes part can't be very big on Thursday, right? Like he's got to be in the ballpark of where Hellebuyck is. He doesn't have to beat Hellebuyck. He's got to be in the ballpark of the game that Hellebuyck plays.
Right. And I don't want to submit this as a show of selfishness. That's not what I mean. What I mean, as I explain this to you, and maybe you saw the same thing. If you didn't, please tell me. It's the details. So Canada's leading 4-1, right, against the Finns. McKinnon has the puck into the neutral zone. He makes an easy 20-foot pass to Crosby up the right side, right? Crosby's got the open net. It's 5-1, game, set, match. It's over, right? Instead, McKinnon tries to put the puck in the net and doesn't. And now here come the Finns. And they score 2 goals in 20 seconds, something like that. Now you've got a hair on fire finish, like that detail stuff. Does that matter?
Yeah, of course it does. I mean, McKinnon's won a cup. He's played at the highest of pressure spots, and he may, like, I say this because I think it's really important. It's like we hear lots, we got to play a 60-minute game. Impossible to do because the other team's allowed to try, And somewhere in that game, if you make a bad decision,
Yeah.
like remember, a bad decision is not like you're sitting on your couch with your feet up and you think about something and you do it. That decision happens in 1 second
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes less. And the right decision, you're pointing out the play is to move it outside. But once it becomes 4-2, then they make another mistake
Mm-hmm.
and there's a bounce and boom, it's 4-3.
Yeah.
So I guess that's part of my point of the game Thursday is the margin is going to be so small. The teams are so comparable.
Right.
They're different, but they're comparable. And you go, you know what? It's going to be one of those. Maybe it's a turnover. Maybe it's a puck that hits somebody's foot and bounces out in the slot, and there's the game winner. Like, I don't see a 5-1 game. I just think there's not much between the teams.
So, I mean, our sport is famous for second guessing, and it's, and I'm a part of it. I'm not dismissing myself in any way, shape, or form. I mean, in golf, you watch, the best tournaments, any tournament, and automatically the coverage for the most part goes to the leaders, right? Or
Sure.
a great shot here or there. And look, you guys do a wonderful job. I think we all do of trying to emphasize the positive. You see Connor McDavid go end to end. Of course, that's a highlight you're going to focus on, but we do fixate sometimes on the negative side. At least in Canada, we do. That's
Right.
And I'm part of that. So I'm kind of couching as I phrase this. So my thinking, and obviously shared by coaches around the league, managers around the National Hockey League on Saturday night, when all of that stuff, the shenanigans of the opening puck drop, 9 seconds, 3 fights, erupted, the response was, wonder if that happens if Tom Wilson is lined up on the other side, or you need your workhorses. Zach Hyman in the mix here. I'm not talking about fighting. I'm talking about having players who are maybe more capable of some of the heavy lifting that goes into the physicality of the game, but also getting into the areas where in that game, maybe Canada wasn't as willing to go to. Like, if we're willing to second guess the roster prior to the championship game, is it fair to look at Team Canada now and say, I wonder if they had a mulligan, a do-over, if they'd rethink this roster in any way?
I believe they would. I don't think, and again, we're not in the conversations. Maybe you've had conversations with some people at the higher up in the decision-making process. I don't think they anticipated that.
No.
And had they anticipated it, Tom Wilson would have been there. But there's one Tom Wilson, not 6 of them. So what would have changed? Matthew Tkachuk would have fought Hagel on the first shift, or would have tried to fight somebody. I mean, say nothing has changed in the U.S. mindset. Wilson would have been the guy fighting Brady.
Right.
Like that would have. So really, what changes? Well, what changes maybe is somewhere along the line. Who hit? Oh, Brady hit Doughty behind the net. Poof, did he ever? Well, maybe Wilson does that at the other end.
Right. I guess that's what I'm talking about. Less about the fighting and more about the physicality. Yeah.
So if you look at this, so you've got Cirelli and Hagel. They're pretty similar to me. I mean, Hagel's a better scorer, but they're similar size and things. Konechny and Jarvis are similar.
Yeah.
In their size and the way they play. It doesn't. It's not a stretch to say the Canadian roster at the Olympics will be built different.
Right.
I think that's what's come out of this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there needs to be more of a size balance to it that would be a thought in the NHL, but maybe not internationally. But you look at the U.S. guys, and there are some big boys, and it's not just the Tkachuks on there.
No.
And but you have to be careful here. You can't say, oh, you know what? We're going to build our team to physically stand up to a really strong team, and then you don't have enough skill.
Mm-hmm.
Like the balance. Like, here's the thing: skill is super key. We talk about it in offense. It's super a key point of offense. Skill's also there in defense. it's not the NHL. It's better than the NHL, the level of it. Because the fourth line guys are Vinny Trocheck, and, who's a hell of a player, right?
Yeah,
and Sam
really
Bennett.
good.
Like, what teams are not lining up for those guys? But that's the fourth line, the floor of these teams.
Mm-hmm.
You need skill to score 2 goals in this. Like in the NHL, skill gets you 4. Here, skill gets you 2, maybe 3. And so the balance is tough. But I mean, if they're picking the team over, if they get a mulligan, like you off the first tee, then Tom Wilson is on this team. The other part of that, Dregs, remember he started great, then he faded, and when he faded, that's when they picked the team.
Yeah.
Hyman had that brutal start, and most felt he would get going. But anyway, when they picked the team, those guys were not playing really well. And I mean, that's maybe just another factor in how they pick it.
No, I think that's an excellent point, though, because from a goaltending perspective, all of that, they had a roster deadline that they had to comply with, and that obviously influenced the ultimate decisions. Okay, couple of quick things here as we wrap up the Tim Hortons headlines. I liked the lineup that Jon Cooper put out against Finland. I did. I think that you've got Stone with Point and McDavid. Stone is an excellent passer. Braden Point, come on, man. He just works. He's so smart and all of that. And they complement Connor McDavid. Yeah. So you don't have to go through all 4 lines, but do you agree? Like they needed something different in that search of chemistry, and maybe they found that with the lineup they put up against Finland.
Well, maybe the U.S. got to it quicker than they did. Right? Like, remember in the first game, the U.S. didn't start their lines the way they, like halfway through the game, they put the Tkachuks together. Yeah. Right? Like they changed, they dropped Kyle Connor down, and he could be an X factor on Thursday because he's had a real quiet tournament, and he's a great player. But the Canadians were, they were mucking around with Marner and McDavid. If you go back to our show, I didn't think that would work. They both need the puck too much.
Yeah,
McDavid needs to be able to carry it. He needs to have the space to carry it. So they tried that. They tried a different line. They moved some people around, and Reinhart with McDavid and McKinnon, with McKinnon and Crosby seems to fit. Stone goes to McDavid. Like the search of chemistry, I'm telling you, is a funny thing because it all looks good, and then you get it out there and you go, ew, that did not look like I thought. Happens all the time. And coaches will tell you sometimes their best decisions. 2 guys, they got all these plans and lines on their goofy whiteboard behind their desk, and then somebody gets hurt or gets a penalty, and they throw 3 guys together because these are the only guys that are available here. Turns out to be the best line they ever put together. And you're like, yeah, exactly. So Canada seems like they hit on something, and it'll be. It will be awesome on Thursday.
All right. Wrap up the headlines with your thought on Sid appropriately getting the empty net goal to seal the deal, right? Just the play that he makes and the collision, call it whatever you will, with Granlund, bats the puck down and just fires it in the center of the net. And then the celebration from a man who, right now, he's the most decorated player there is, right? I mean, the golden goal you think of in the Olympics in 2010 and whatnot. But that was my takeaway. Wasn't just the play and how he made the play and the execution of the play, just the sheer emotion and celebration and knowing that he and Canada had punched their ticket officially to the championship final.
Oh, what was Cooper's quote about him? Something about he'll be the most impactful player ever to wear a Canadian jersey, something like that.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't get too far off Coop there, but like international play cements legacy, right? Think of all the great things Mario Lemieux did. One of my first memories or thoughts of him is scoring the 87 Canada Cup winner.
Same.
Right?
Yeah.
The Stanley Cups and the goal around Sean Chambers in Minnesota and all that, yada, yada, yada. International play stamps reputation, stamps legacy. Sid didn't need to throw another nail into his legacy, but I mean, that was pretty awesome. Like,
Fantastic.
pretty awesome. That was a hell of an empty netter when you think of it.
Oh,
you know,
like all things that were going on. Like, come on.
Yeah,
That
was awesome. Yeah.
Well, we're set up for a beauty, and you're going to be front and center for that. And we look forward to it on Thursday. Canada versus the United States for the Four Nations face-off. All right, those are your headlines. Thank you to our good friends at Tim Hortons. Time now for Ask Ray and Dregs Anything, and our good pal Zuby Chris Sabunia is joining us here. Ask Ray and Dregs Anything is brought to you by Acon. Acon is a North American construction leader and proud to be one of Canada's original industrial contractors. They're building some of the largest multi-year industrial projects in Western Canada, and you can be a part of it. They're looking for skilled tradespeople and construction pros to join the Acon team and start building what matters today. Join Acon now by sending a resume to trades@acon.com. Ryan Rashog is en route. He's probably in Boston by now. You know, his planes, trains, and literally automobiles with the snowstorm that whipped through southern Ontario and into Quebec. I mean, Montreal was just a flat-out mess on the weekend. So those guys are making their way. But Zuby, we've got you. And it's like having two top-tier goalies. You know, you've got your 1 and you've got your 1A. And so you as a goalie, I'm going to give you the 1 today. Rashog can be the 1A. He's missed a couple, so he drops to 1A. What's up, Zuby?
It's been a long time since I played at any level where there were actually even 2 goalies on the team. So it's a lot of beer league. There's no backup. So it's your 1. There is no 1A. 1A is might live near the rink to get a call at the last minute if you forgot to wake up from your evening nap or fell asleep putting one of the kids to bed. But being a number 1's a good feeling. All right.
Nice.
All right, let's get to some questions here and ask Ray and Dregs anything. So this is an email from Double R in Kamloops, and he says, if there's one thing you've seen at Four Nations that you might want to see applied to the NHL, that being the longer OT, the longer commercial breaks, the point structure, is there anything you'd want to take away from this tournament and apply it back to the league? Or do you think there's anything that the league has seen as a big positive?
I'm gonna take 2. I'm gonna split the overtime from 5 to 10 and say 8 minutes.
Yeah.
I would like to see that, and I would like to see the points awarded the way they are. I just think it's really cool. I think the strategy of, oh boy, near the end of the season, we need that 3rd point. You got to gamble on it. Like I like that sort of stuff, and so it might. I mean, there's lots of times I think we've seen the overall points don't change that much. I just think it matters. I think it would matter. I think it would be cool to see. But those would be the 2 takeaways. The longer commercials, no. We know why they do it. You got to sell it, and I get it. But I don't know. The players are standing around there. They don't know where to go. And
that's exactly it, right? I mean, they're lost out there. They're looking around because it's all timing, right, Ray? I mean, you've got a sense of, okay, here's the TV timeout. I know what I'm going to do. There's a quick conversation. I can do this. I can do that. What is it, extra 30 seconds or a minute? Another
30, I think. Yeah, I think it's 30.
Around going, what? But even hockey ops doesn't like it. It's not just the players. The coaches don't like it. The NHL head office doesn't love it.
But you know what they all like? Hockey-related revenue. Hockey-related revenue. Stand around. That's what you need.
As for the 10-minute 3-on-3, that was the first thing that I thought of when we saw Canada and Sweden go into that 10-minute 3-on-3, because the NHL doesn't do anything by accident. If they want to make a rule tweak that applies to on ice, they'll run it through the American League for test drive, and then it'll get into the preseason. So I asked that question, and the response was highly unlikely that it's adopted at the NHL level. They wanted this to be unique to the Four Nations, and it's unique. They're not trying to obliterate the shootout, but I'm with Ray. I like the point system, and I think if they were going to go to an extended 3-on-3, it wouldn't be 10 minutes. It'd be 7 or 8 minutes.
All right. Let's go here to CB in New West. And he's asking about our friend in Vancouver, Elias Pettersson, who finished the Four Nations with 0 points in 3 games. Many Canuck fans were hoping this tournament might spark their star player, but that doesn't seem to be the case. But does this for a performance from Petey actually mean anything going forward for him?
Well, I think lots of people, and probably including him, were hoping it would be a springboard to some better play. I mean, he's had a pedestrian season so far. There's been all kinds of, issues and conflicts and things to his game. Right? I mean, it's been talked about for the whole season. He probably just wanted to get away and play. And he looks to me almost like everything is a double clutch right now. Like the game is like, you're in a movie when you're playing. And so you see the scene, you read it, you react, and you jump. And that's it. And that happens like in a heartbeat, right? Like, I know people I don't want to get in because I played, but I don't think you understand a lot of times how fast the decision gets made. And if you make the wrong one, you're only a foot or 2 or 3 away from where you should be. It might as well be across the street. You got no chance. And so I think like Pettersson gets the puck and he looks and he's trying to plot his way. You got to go. And so I don't know if it's he didn't train last summer. He did rehab. JP Barry, his agents, talked about that.
Yeah.
I've done that. The only thing you're hoping to do when you're rehabbing is get to your low bar. Like, you're just trying to get yourself as healthy as possible. He's never going to be fast, but he was quicker. He's never going to be super strong, but he was stronger. And so that to me points to whether that's he couldn't do it or didn't do it. I don't know. I have no idea. But the better days of Pettersson are tied to that, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, everybody around the Vancouver Canucks, and including Elias Pettersson, was hoping that the Four Nations was going to be a bit of a reset for him, right? He would find a way to be an impactful piece for Sweden, and it hasn't worked out that way. He's not alone, wearing the country colors. There have been disappointing performances. They'll look back on that at the Four Nations face-off. But I am curious to see what happens now in the final leg of the regular season with Pettersson with the Vancouver Canucks, because they need him to be that much better, right? We know that they're searching for a centerman, but they need him to be a top player, and he hasn't been that, but he still can be. So I'm not going to bury him because he didn't do what he was hoping to do at the Four Nations. I think the story is yet to be written, and maybe it's much better than we can predict going into the final leg of the regular season and the playoffs.
All right, last one here, fellas. This one is kind of directly for Ray. This is from Jeff Campbell, came in from Jeff Campbell on Twitter. He says, Ray, do the Granato brothers ever, quote, give you the business for what a pain in the ass you were while playing against you?
Oh,
I don't think for playing so much as they just think I'm a pain in the ass. I think it's like, I think that would be just like any other brother-in-law, and there's so many of them. Like, there's 6 in their family. So like, I gotta kind of find my place in the group. But the last time I played against Tony, now Tony, for people that wouldn't know, Tony was a vicious player. Like, he was hard and he was chippy / dirty right in there. So he's playing for San Jose and he slashes me. I slash him back. And then he gets me good, like right above the gloves. And I am sour. And so we're going to the penalty box and I'm like, I will get you back. I will get you back. And he's telling me to F off. I'm telling him to F off. I'm not dating Cammy, right? Like we haven't started yet. So I'm like, I will get you back. So he retires at the end of the year. And so fast forward a few years, we're at our wedding. And I say, Tony, it took me a long time, but I told you I'd get you back. So now I'm your brother-in-law. And so Tony gets up for his speech and he goes, Yeah, you think you got me back? I got you again. And Cammie's sitting there. She's like, what the hell? It's on my
What
wedding.
does that mean?
Everybody's like, carving her into, and so Tony goes, I got you back. But I got to tell you, if people don't know what my brother-in-law is about, watch his clip last night on TNT talking about playing for the United States, for what it means to him. And it is, if he was your coach, you'd stand on your head in the corner if he asked you to. Like when you hear this, it's amazing. It is just an amazing clip. And, he's had a battle over the last couple of years. He's on the other side of it, it looks like right now. And we're just so happy for, it's an amazing family. He's an amazing guy, but man, he was dirty. He was just miserable to play against.
Okay, Zub, as we wrap up here, I want to ask Ray, because I'm thinking the fiery competitiveness that it's in the DNA of the Granados, and that includes Cammie, right?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you and Cammie have been on the ice together, or have you never? However, if you're
I've not told you this story?
Again, okay, you tell it. But I'm thinking of, Cammie Granado and Ray Ferraro take a face-off against, and it matters. It's not just a little fun thing. I mean, you're going to be physically stronger, but the level of compete would be pretty high from Cammie to find a way to beat you.
So we were skating in a group, and so she's getting ready for what would be the 04 Worlds, which would be her last tournament. And she puts the puck through my feet in a scrimmage and then goes by me. She kind of laughs when she goes by me. She puts it through my feet and goes by me. So I turn around and I swat her pretty hard in the back of the pants. And not happy. Was not. She was so sour, and I just did it like we're just playing, and I went whack, and the sound when you hit somebody on the ass of the pants, and it was like,
you're lucky you didn't get it in the teeth on the way back.
Oh, that was not one of my sharpest moves. I'll tell you how competitive it is. So I don't know if you guys ever play Scrabble. We like to play. It's a good time killer, whatever. Yep. So the other day, in a remarkable comeback, I come back and win. It's unbelievable. She thinks I don't win because I didn't really tell her the score, and she got stuck with a W at the end, which flipped it twice. And so she's claiming victory because she would have played the W she said earlier. I think if this goes to a court of arbitration, I win.
Yeah, I'd give you the win there.
Thanks, Dregs. I appreciate that.
I think the onus is on the player to know the score, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I had the scorecard over by me, and I wasn't really. As it was getting closer, I was like,
you can never get buried with those big number letters. No. You can't.
No. And she, the other thing she does, she knows all the 2-letter words, pisses me off.
Just chips away, just like a woodpecker.
And I'm like, she's stuck an X on the triple letter. Like, how the
I love that.
Does that happen?
I do that.
I hate that. Oh, I hate it. Oh, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, like XI or something is a word. Yeah,
it's a word. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's good stuff. Thanks, Zuby.
Thanks, fellas. Good to see you again.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for everything as always.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see you again next week, Zuby, because Ryan Rashog will have another excuse, travel related, so he won't be able to participate.
Oh, you know what, Dregs? He might be tired.
I tell you.
Take a nappy. Okay, all right, everybody, Chris, enjoy.
Have a good weekend.
Enjoy Four Nations, everybody. Enjoy Thursday night. I hope the game is as great as we all hope it can be, and we'll talk to you on Friday.
All right, buddy. When are you bound for Boston? Tomorrow? Wednesday? All right.
Yep, Wednesday morning. Thanks, bud. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you to our sponsors who continue to support Ray and Dregs and make this podcast possible. Our title sponsor, Tim Hortons, and thank you to Acon. Enjoy the finale, Canada versus the United States, the Four Nations Face-Off Championship. And in the meantime, stay safe, everybody.